Psycho, 1960, isn't just a thriller, it's a cinematic earthquake that changed filmmaking forever. Alfred Hitchcock broke rules, shocked audiences, and invented horror techniques still copied today. But behind this legendary film lies a treasure chest of strange, twisted, and unbelievably weird facts that most fans never hear about. So grab your popcorn, lock the bathroom door, and get ready. Because today we're diving into 20 weird facts about Psycho you didn't know. Fact 1. Hitchcock bought the rights. In total secrecy. When Hitchcock discovered Robert Bloch's novel Psycho, he knew it could become his next masterpiece. But he also knew Hollywood studios would try to steal the idea. So he secretly sent assistants across bookstores to buy every single copy they could find. Thousands of them. To keep the plot twist hidden from the public. Hitchcock even purchased the rights to the story for only $9,000 and didn't let anyone know he owned it until production began. He wanted the world to walk into the theater blind. And it worked. Fact 2. Paramount rejected the movie, so Hitchcock made it anyway. Paramount didn't want anything to do with Psycho. They said it was too violent, too weird, too low budget, and not a Hitchcock movie. So Hitchcock did something unheard of. He self-financed the entire film, mortgaging his own TV show earnings to fund it. He shot the movie using his TV crew from Alfred Hitchcock Presents, used smaller sets, and slashed costs everywhere. He even agreed to take no salary, only a percentage of profits. That gamble made him richer than ever when Psycho became a monster hit. Fact 3. The shower scene took 7 days and 70 camera angles. The most iconic murder scene in movie history, it took a full week to shoot, even though it lasts less than 3 minutes. Hitchcock used over 70 camera setups, dozens of micro cuts, and trick shots to create the illusion of stabbing without showing a single knife piercing skin. Janet Leigh stood under freezing water for hours, causing her to shiver uncontrollably between takes. The scene was edited so skillfully that audiences swore they saw violence that never actually appears on screen. Fact 4. The blood in the shower. Was chocolate syrup color films existed, but Hitchcock chose to shoot Psycho in black and white because he thought red blood would look too fake. So for the shower blood, the crew used Hershey's chocolate syrup, which had the perfect thickness and looked more realistic in grayscale. The sugary smell filled the bathroom, making the scene strangely sweet. Despite the horror, Janet Leigh joked that she could never look at chocolate milkshakes the same way again. Fact 5. The sound of the knife stabbing was made with a melon. That sharp, violent stabbing sound didn't come from knives. It came from a Foley artist repeatedly stabbing a cassava melon. Hitchcock personally tested several fruits, stabbing them one by one in a studio with a giant knife. Crew members watched in confusion as he said, "No, this one doesn't scream right." Eventually, he picked the cassava melon because, according to him, it had the right audio personality for murder. That sound became one of the most recognizable horror effects ever created. Subscribe if you're enjoying these creepy behind-the-scenes secrets. More madness coming up. Fact 6. Janet Leigh refused to shower alone after the film, even though she knew exactly how the shower scene was filmed. The angles, the tricks, the melon stabbing, it still traumatized her. She later admitted that whenever she showered, she would check the bathroom door repeatedly, lock it twice, and pull the curtain open just enough so she could always see outside. Her fear wasn't the stabbing, it was the idea of being vulnerable, blinded by steam and water, unable to hear someone approach. In interviews, she confessed she preferred baths for years afterward, but even then she kept the bathroom lights blazing bright. The film didn't just scare audiences, it scarred its own star. Fact 7. The MPAA tried to ban the shower scene, but Hitchcock outsmarted them. Censors claimed they saw nudity and graphic violence. Even though nothing explicit was shown, Hitchcock knew they were bluffing. So he pulled a legendary trick. He sent the exact same scene back to the censors without changing even a single frame. Suddenly, they approved it, proving they imagined details that weren't really there. Hitchcock always said, "Fear doesn't come from what you see, It comes from what you think you saw. Psycho became the perfect example of psychological horror defeating censorship. Fact 8. Anthony Perkins didn't shoot the shower scene. His body double did. While the film makes it look like Norman Bates is doing the stabbing, Perkins wasn't even on set that week. He was in New York doing a stage production, so a female stand-in wearing a dress and wig performed the attacks. This choice accidentally made the killer look even more eerie. The movements were slightly off, slightly unnatural, slightly too graceful to be a man pretending to be his mother. Later, Perkins said watching the scene in theaters felt bizarre, like watching Norman's ghost acting without me. And that uncanny quality made Norman Bates even more disturbing. Fact 9. The Bates house was inspired by a real artist's painting. The creepy silhouette of the Bates home wasn't random. The production team modeled it after Edward Hopper's 1925 painting House by the Railroad. The painting showed a lonely Victorian house on an empty landscape, with tall windows that looked like watching eyes. Hitchcock loved the unsettling stillness of it. The house looked abandoned, yet somehow alive. So the designers recreated that exact mood, adding sharper angles, darker shadows, and a crooked roofline. It wasn't just a building. It became a character, watching every decision Norman made. Fact 10. Hitchcock forced theaters to lock their doors. After the movie started, at the time, audiences walked in and out of theaters whenever they wanted. But Hitchcock insisted on a radical rule. No one would be admitted after the film began. Posters outside theaters read, "You must see Psycho from the beginning," or not at all. Managers stood at the doors with rope barriers, refusing entry even if people begged. This created massive lines, huge publicity, and intense curiosity. Everyone wanted to know what the big secret was. It became one of the greatest marketing stunts in film history. Make sure you subscribe, because the next 10 facts will blow your mind even harder. Fact 11. The screaming in the shower scene isn't Janet Leigh's voice. Janet Leigh screamed during filming, but Hitchcock wasn't satisfied. He wanted a scream that felt almost animalistic, so he hired professional scream artists to record exaggerated shrieks in a sound booth, layering them with Janet's voice until the final audio felt raw and primal. The blend created a chilling sound that didn't just express fear, it expressed helplessness, like someone realizing in their final second that nobody is coming to save them. To this day, sound designers study the layers of that scream as a blueprint for horror. Fact 12. The movie nearly lost its music, until a 20-second clip saved everything. Initially, Hitchcock wanted zero music during the shower murder. Composer Bernard Herrmann ignored him and secretly wrote a violin track anyway. He played the cue in a meeting, and the moment those razor-sharp violins sliced the silence, Hitchcock froze, then said, "Double your salary." That 20-second music test changed film history. Without Herrmann's piercing strings, the scene might have been dramatic, but with them, it became unforgettable terror. Hitchcock later admitted the music made the film. Fact 13. Psycho was one of the first films to show a toilet flushing. It sounds ridiculous today, but American films avoided showing toilets due to censorship rules. Hitchcock hated such rules, so he wrote a script moment specifically to show a toilet flushing Marion Crane tears up a piece of paper and throws it in the bowl before flushing, making it the first flush ever shown realistically on screen. Audiences gasped, not because they were shocked, but because it felt strangely intimate and real. This tiny, rebellious moment helped push American cinema toward realism at 14. Hitchcock made the whole cast swear to keep the twist secret. The reveal that Norman was acting as his mother was considered too explosive to leak. Hitchcock demanded absolute secrecy. No interviews, no hints, no clues. Actors had to sign confidentiality agreements and were forbidden from explaining anything, even to their families. He even kept Perkins and Leigh away from promotional tours because he didn't trust journalists. Thanks to this obsessive control, audiences experienced the twist with complete shock. Gasps, screams, and even fainting were reported in theaters. Fact 15. Norman Bates was inspired by a real serial killer. Robert Bloch based Norman on Ed Gein, a killer who lived in Wisconsin. Gein was infamous for digging up corpses, wearing their skin, and creating furniture from body parts. Bloch didn't know all the details yet. Many were revealed after the novel, but the idea of a seemingly quiet man with a horrifying private life inspired Norman's chilling dual personality. Instead of copying the real monster, Hitchcock created something even more disturbing, a lonely, fragile man who hid his madness behind politeness. The calmness made him scarier than any violent brute. Fact 16. Anthony Perkins was barely allowed to act on purpose. Hitchcock told Perkins to avoid expressive acting and instead rely on tiny gestures, eye flickers, hesitant smiles, soft voice changes. He believed Norman Bates should feel unreadable, like a man whose real personality was always hiding behind polite manners. Perkins took this direction so seriously he spent hours practicing in the mirror to eliminate natural reactions. Crew members said he looked like someone rehearsing how to appear human. That eerie restraint is what made Norman terrifying. Not loud violence, but quiet unpredictability that crawls under your skin. Even decades later, actors study his performance as a masterclass in minimalistic horror. Fact 17. The house was built to look like your own nightmares. The Bates house wasn't modeled after a real building. It was designed from paintings known for unsettling imagery. Hitchcock took inspiration from artist Edward Hopper's The House by the Railroad, a lonely, looming structure that looked haunted by memories. Designers angled the roof lines and windows to appear slightly off balance, creating a visual tension the audience could feel even without understanding why. Crew members described walking past it at night as seeing a memory you forgot you had. Its silhouette became so iconic that even people who never watched Psycho instantly recognize it. It's not just a house, it's a psychological trigger built for fear. Fact 18. Hitchcock used chocolate syrup for the blood, but not all syrup was the same. Because the film was in black and white, Hitchcock wanted a liquid that looked thick, dramatic, and violent under studio lights. Hershey's chocolate syrup became the perfect choice, but it still wasn't dark enough. So the effects team mixed multiple syrups to create a richer, heavier texture that splattered realistically on the bathroom tiles. The smell of chocolate filled the entire set during takes, creating a surreal contrast to the horror being filmed. Janet Leigh joked that she would forever associate chocolate with murder scenes. This low-tech trick became one of the most legendary practical effects in cinema history. Fact 19. The movie almost got banned because the ending was too disturbing. Censors found the psychiatrist's explanation of Norman's condition too graphic and psychologically dark. They argued that audiences weren't ready to hear about split identities, dead mothers, and mental collapse in such blunt detail. Hitchcock fought back, insisting the explanation was necessary to close the story without moral ambiguity. He argued that real horror lives in the mind, not the knife, and the ending proved it. The board relented only after Hitchcock trimmed a few lines, but the essence remained untouched. This ending didn't just explain Norman, it introduced millions to the concept of dissociative disorders. Fact 20. The final shot of Norman smiling was crafted. Frame by frame, Hitchcock wanted Norman's last smile to feel sweet on the surface, but rotten underneath. To achieve this, Perkins held a soft smile while imagining something horrible, creating an unnerving contrast in his eyes. Hitchcock then overlaid a split-second dissolve of Mother's skull onto his face, barely visible but enough to haunt viewers subconsciously. The combination makes the audience feel like Norman and Mother merged permanently in that moment. It's one of the earliest examples of subliminal horror, a scare you feel before you notice it. That final grin isn't just creepy, it's the birth of a cinematic legend. Psycho didn't just rewrite horror, it reshaped filmmaking forever. It broke rules, shocked censors, terrified audiences, and introduced a new kind of psychological fear that still defines thrillers today. If you enjoyed diving into these twisted behind-the-scenes secrets, make sure to hit subscribe because more mind-bending movie stories are coming your way. And trust me, the next video will mess with your expectations all over again.